everyone. In the previous session that we have discussed about the human resource manager, we have seen the qualities, characteristics, role of a human resource manager, and we have also discussed about the various challenges which is being faced by the human resource manager. Finally, in the last session that we have discussed about the manpower planning. In this session that we are going to discuss the two core functional activities of human resource management. The managerial function and operative function. In managerial function, have planned to discuss the planning, organizing, directing, coordinating and controlling. And in the sixth operative function, have going to discuss the first operative function, recruitment, in which we are going to discuss about the features of recruitment, process of recruitment, sources of recruitment, and we are also going to discuss about the various factors which is affecting the recruitment. First, let us move on to see the managerial function. Actually, the managerial function has been performed by the managers, but human resource manager is taking part of the enterprises. So he must perform certain managerial functions like planning, organizing, directing and controlling. First, let us move on to see the planning function. Planning is the foremost primary managerial function. Actually, planning is determining the goals and it lay down the policies and procedures to attain the goal. Whereas a human resource manager, he has to determine the manpower which is required for the job, and he also look after for the job analysis, description, and he also discuss about the sources of recruitment. The next most important function is organizing. Organizing is nothing but structuring. Actually, the human resource manager develops a plan, which is very important aspect. That plan has to be designed and developed and structured so that they can carry out the operational functional activities. The third function is directing. How well the plan is implemented depends upon how the employees are motivated and directed. So as a human resource manager, he has to direct the employees and he also has to motivate the employees to attain the goal. The last function is controlling. Controlling is concerned with regulation of plan. The verification and inspection is being done in controlling, whereas towards the observation and comparison of the result, this cycle again continues and leads for the planning again. This is what that we have seen over there in planning, organizing, directing and controlling. Now it's time to move on to see the operative function. Operative function especially has to be done by the human resource manager. Here I have given the 5 operative functions which is being performed by the human resource manager. The recruitment, selection, training, compensation and integration. Recruitment is the first operative function, whereas a human resource manager has to perform this recruitment in an effective way, so that he should have a well-versed of knowledge towards the job, which is a very important aspect. First, I would like to illustrate how important for a human resource manager to have a well-versed of knowledge. I would like to explain it towards a job which is assigned to the employees. Here, I hope you could have seen this illustration that the task which is assigned to the worker is they have to make beautiful parts and they have to give this output. So this is what the work assigned. So let us think what has to be done to make this part. So let us list out the items which is required to make a part. We are in need of a glaze and we are in need of heating process. We are in need of a machine or a wheel to make the part. Again, we are in need of an art designer to design the part. We are in need of certain color painting to paint the part. These are the items which is required. So again, the main important input is manpower. So the man has to make the output, has to bring the output. Now let us move on to see about the recruitment. Actually, the recruitment is a process, whereas the human resource manager search for the applicant, he has to attract the applicant, you want to stimulate the person to apply for the job. The definition which is derived by the Flippo. He represents that the human resource manager has to search for the prospective employees and he wants to stimulate them to apply for the job in the organization. Let us look into the features of recruitment. Recruitment is a process rather than an act or an event. Recruitment brings the employer and employee together. Whereas recruitment is a positive activity, whereas there is no elimination. The HR manager pools the employees. The next stage is the selection, where we have the elimination, so that it is represented as positive activity. It is a complex process for a human resource manager. He should be very keen about the goodwill of the concern while recruiting. He looks after the image of the company, policies, procedures and working conditions. Now let us see the recruitment process. Actually, the recruitment process is the steps which is being taken by the human resource manager to hire the people. The first step is defining. He has to very clear define the job to which the person is going to be hired. The next step is requisition. He has to be very clear about the job which is going to match the skilled person. The third step is the human resource manager clearly defines where he is going to source the people, whether within the organization or outside the organization. Step 4. The human resource manager should clearly represent how he is going to communicate, and he has to stimulate the person and he has to attract the person to apply for the job. Step 5, which is very important for a human resource manager. He has to identify the process and he has to look after whatever the work which has been done in step 1, step 2, step 3 and step 4. He has to assess the candidate so that he came to know how qualified employees he has been induced to apply, so that he can avoid certain problems which may occur later. Sources of recruitment. Let us see where the human resource manager source for the potential applicant. That we can see into two aspects, the internal factor and external factor. The human resource manager can find the suitable applicant within the organization. That is said to be as an internal factor. Whereas a human resource manager decide to look after for the new, fresh, young people so that he can move on to the outside organization. That is said to be as external factor. Within the organization, he can search for the potential employees and he can promote them and he can transfer them to the specific job. Whereas he can find the potential applicant with the people who were retired and retrenched. If we take over for the external factors, he can look after for the technical educational institution for the qualified applicant. They can also search for the employment agencies. He can also look for the employment exchanges, and they can also seek help from the press advertising. They can represent the broadcasting, or they can move on to the print medias where they can source the potential applicant which matches the job. Now let us discuss what are the various factors which is affecting the recruitment process. Actually, the human resource manager should work without any hindrance so that he can pull out the qualified applicant to the specific job. But some of the factors which is affecting the recruitment, let us classify and see it. That is internal factors which is affecting the human resource manager to not to do his job. The second is the external factors that may also be an hindrance for the human resource manager to not to pull out the qualified employees. Now let us see what are the internal factors. The size of the organization may be a barrier for the human resource manager. I hope you are all well aware about the sizes of the organization, small, medium and large scale. Even then, the human resource manager searches for the qualified applicant. Sometimes the size of the organization may be the barrier. The candidate may be seeking for the large organization, so that he will not be showing interest in applying for the small and medium scale. The second hindrance is again the internal factor, where the organization will have the specific policies to spend for the recruitment. The cost and time will be the major hindrance for the human resource manager to not to choose the right candidate. The external factors, the political, legal and social factors may be a major hindrance for the human resource manager to not to pull out the qualified candidates. Let me give an example. The reservation which has to be filled only towards the applicant. So it may be a problem for the human resource manager to source and fill the reserved candidate which has to be the qualified too. That we came to the end of the session. In this session that we have discussed about the functions of human resource management, that we have seen the two core functions of managerial function and operative function. I would like to tell you that we have discussed about the first operative function, recruitment, in this session. In the forthcoming session that we are going to discuss about the second operative function, selection. In selection we are going to see the objectives and process of selection. Thank you.